Hi, I'm Anamitra, host of the Pre-Seed Show and co-founder of A4 Capital. Today we're going to talk to Sohit and Tran, founders of Grove. Grove is a super interesting company. They're working at the intersection of AI and healthcare, and more specifically, accelerating drug discovery. Now, it turns out that clinical trials, it's the process by which a model or an experiment that works well in the lab is tested in the field with real patients to see if they actually work like they're supposed to and are they safe. That clinical trial process is a huge market. It's the area where Grove is focused on. It's about $25 billion market in 2024, expected to more than double by 2030 to $60 billion. That's $60 billion by 2030. And it turns out that in clinical trials specifically, about a third of the cost is in recruiting patients. Basically, what that means is that a third of the cost goes right out the door before the trial even begins. You know, drug discovery is a long-winded process. A lot of things fail, and most of them fail because the candidates that are being recruited are not the right ones. And that's what Grove is helping with. So without further ado, let's talk to Sohit and Tran. All right, Sohit, Tran, welcome. Welcome to the Pre-Seed Show. So glad you're doing it. We're super excited about Grove and what you're building. You've done quite a bit in a very short amount of time, and I'm sure a lot of folks want to follow in your footsteps, especially students who are coming out of school or thinking about dropping out and going into areas and industries they may or may not be aware of. But they know technology, they know engineering, as you did. So maybe with Tran first, and then Sohit, just talk a little bit about your sort of, I guess, entrepreneurial journey. Where did you go to school? Where did you come from? What's your story? Everything that led up to maybe meeting Sohit.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us. I'm Tran, CEO and co-founder of Grove AI here with Sohit. My story, I was born and raised in Vietnam on a farm. We had to do everything ourselves, whether that is going to get our own food. And so was taught to be very resourceful from the very beginning. Got a lucky chance to come to Stanford. I did not know I wanted to study computer science, enrolled in everything I could. And then my senior year last year of my master's degree, met Sohit. I was actually his RA in the dorm. So got to live with him, but also work with him at the Stanford Hospital where we were doing research on different projects. And that's really where a lot of our intuition and ideas came about. How can we apply, even before ChatGPT and GPT became a thing, applying AI in order to accelerate healthcare and life sciences?
So you made sure that Sohit followed the rules in the dorm, huh?
He
Well,
followed most of them.
unsuccessfully. Yeah, I can go quickly as well. So I'm Sohit, co-founder as well of Grove. My background, I grew up in Singapore actually, and before that I was born in London, so kind of lived all over the place. Came to school at Stanford to do my undergrad and master's, and yeah, like Tran said, met Tran during my last year. Got into building Grove and entrepreneurship just because I was doing research at Stanford Med the entire time I was at Stanford, more or less, and was always super interested in how I could apply my ability as a CS student to improve healthcare. So the idea for Grove really came about from looking at the inefficiencies of Stanford medicine that Tran and I observed, and we were like, okay, we can do this a lot better, and we want to do this at a really large scale and just transform this industry. So that's how we started Grove.
That's terrific. You know, Stanford is synonymous with entrepreneurship. Was that in your mind as you were thinking about going to Stanford, or when you arrived in Stanford? Did you see it everywhere? I'm curious. From the outside, it seems like everyone is up to date on venture and startups and fundraising. Was it like that when you were in there?
Yeah, it's everywhere. Everyone at Stanford's always talking about, oh, like I want to drop out and make this company, or have you heard about this person who just raised X million dollars? But I think the best thing about Stanford is we were able to be just exposed to one, like the world of venture and the world of startups, and two, just be able to stay up to date on everything. Like for example, I took CS 224, and I believe so we got to play with like GPT-2 before GPT-3, and this whole ChatGPT thing came out. So just like be able to build really cool stuff. And yeah, I was focused on building a lot of cool stuff during my time at Stanford. And Grove was the one that ended up becoming a company. The intention, we never, I don't think Tran or myself either set out to like, oh, we need to build a company. Let's build some cool stuff. And Grove was the most impactful, the best idea that we had in that time.
I'm curious. Did you look at the technology, GPT-2, for example, the large language models? did you get many, for some people, they look at a technology and they say, this is really cool, this is going to change the world, I'm going to figure out an application for it. And then you work through different use cases and land on one that is interesting. Is that how it happened for you? Or were you also passionate about life sciences, and then LLMs and the large language models was a way to solve that whatever problem you saw? Because you did some work at the health center at Stanford too, right? Before starting Grove.
Yeah, so how Grove came about, both of us, So and I, we were doing work internally at Stanford Medicine. I was building out their internal patient triaging system for healthcare services. And so it was doing similar on the clinical research side. Outside of our work there, we also, we spent every single Sunday in the Grove dorm. And there's this one study space inside of every Stanford dorm where, every night you can come in there and do PSETs with others. And that's where we would huddle. And that was really our first headquarters, the Grove dorm, where we would huddle every single Sunday and just think about cool things that we could accomplish within what we were seeing within the life sciences, clinical research, and healthcare system. One day I was trying to enroll into a clinical trial, and the doctor sent me a 25-page PDF with instructions on where I need to go to get my lab test, who I needed to contact, and all the instructions I needed to follow. And it was extremely complicated. And so at that time, I uploaded to ChatGPT, the first version, to have it explain to me what to do. But even then, I didn't know who to contact or where to go. And so I ran over to So and said, what do I do with this? And that's when things really came about, where it made sense. Hey, this technology that we're learning and seeing the beta version in our courses can be applied to this, and no one else has done this. So what do we have to lose by using our connections, our previous work, and going out and pitching this idea to people who want to make this happen with us?
So that's the light bulb moment. You got a 25-page PDF, and you were trying to use ChatGPT to figure out what the hell this means and how to answer those questions, right? That's when the connection happened for you.
Yes, I remember specifically. I ran to Sohit's door. I banged on the door and said, "Hey, what if we make this AI recruiter, Grace, that goes and actually helps every single patient know what to do when they try to enroll into a clinical trial?" I think Sohit's response was just like, "Yeah, that can work." And so that's how we made our first product, Grace, the AI recruiter that helps biopharma organizations to better help recruit participants into
Right.
clinical trials.
At that moment, maybe so you can share. Like at that moment, had you already decided that you two are going to work together? You're going to start a company, and you were looking at various ideas, or was that the trigger to say, well, hey, let's formalize this and turn this into a real thing?
So I mean, Tran and I were working together on mostly class projects at the time. We were in this class called CS224G, I believe, apps with LLMs, and we were tinkering, I think, building things for fun. When Tran said, okay, let's build this AI recruiter for Grace, so we're like, okay, let's see if there's a demand for this. I think we kind of went out, we built a product in just a couple days, the initial version, like very bare bones prototype. And then we sent a couple we actually just cold DM'd a bunch of execs who are in clinical research with our demo, pasted the link, and then to our own surprise, people start responding to us saying, we really need this, we really want this product that you guys have built. I think that's one for us, like, okay, like maybe we've built something truly useful. And then what really set in stone for us was when two of our first customers both booked flights for us to fly out to the headquarters, like immediately. They're like, okay, they took 2 demo calls. Now, if you're coming to Houston or you're coming to Arizona, those are 2 headquarters of our first 2 customers. And they're like, you guys fly out ASAP. So we're in the middle of the school quarter and we were flying out to customers. People were like, where are you guys going? What are you doing? And I think after those customer trips, we're like, yeah, this is a real company and we're solving a real problem.
Oh, that sounds like product market fit right there. When people give you tickets, customers give you pay you for airfare and have you come over. So the demo was pretty cool. It sounds like demo really turned heads. Can you talk a little bit more about Grace and the demo, and then what? So from that 25-page PDF that you inserted into ChatGPT, and from there you went to the AI recruiter idea. What are the things that happen in between?
Yes, so I can talk about how it's done today. or how it was done, and then so it can speak a bit about how we are transforming this industry to accelerate new drugs to market faster. So how trials are done today is there is a set of instructions, namely it's called a protocol, and that set of instructions can vary from 20 pages to hundreds of pages, and it outlines every single piece of step that has to happen for this trial to be completed and for there to be data that pharma can then take to the FDA and submit it for approval before the drug goes to market. And so what I received was the patient version of the protocol, where essentially it outlines, hi, Tran, if you want to participate in this research trial, then you have to do the following. Week 1, go get your lab test. Week 2, go here. Week 3, go here. And you have to follow everything end to end per the instructions because this is research. And so for patients, what that means is, patients participate in trials for a variety of reasons. It can be because of health reasons. It can be because you know a loved one and you want to advance science. It can be because of compensation. For me, it was because of health reasons. And it was really difficult to navigate all of this. Like if I want to know where do I go to get my lab tests, I shouldn't have to read through a 20-page PDF for that to happen. It should just be, hi, Grace, where do I go to get my lab tests? Grace should say, hi, Tran, I'm sending you the address right now. Click on this link and it'll take you there. And by the way, I booked your appointment already. It's at this time. And by the way, I already notified the provider that you are coming and you'll be seeing Dr. Sohit. And so that's really what we envision. The patient and the provider, the investigator should just, focus on the research and the work, and Grace will take care of everything behind the scenes. And so that's the first application, but we're extending beyond that as well, which Zoe can talk a bit about.
Right. Zooming out for a second, a little bit, and like why this is so important. Like one of the reasons, maybe you can share a little bit more about why clinical trials are essential and critical to the drug discovery process. It's almost like a bridge between the experiments that are run in the lab and real world efficacy tests, doing so safely. And it's a huge market. Tens of billions, the 20 plus $20 billion market just in last year. So can you talk a little bit more about why clinical trials, how big clinical trials are as an industry, why it's so important?
Yeah, so clinical trials are how drugs get to market. So at a high level, there's 4 phases of clinical trials, and each phase essentially, as it goes down the line, proves further efficacy of the drug. So if you're a pharma company, you need all of these phases of trials to go really, really well, so then you can get your drug to market as quickly as possible. And why it's so important for clinical trials to be successful is that they invest billions of dollars into these assets even before they get into clinical trials. For example, I think we just saw Novo bought this drug lot this week for like $5 billion, and now they're running the clinical trial on it. So you can't have a $5 billion acquisition fail because of your clinical trial failed, right? So that's why these trials are super important for pharma companies, because if you have one mistake, you're delaying the release of your drug. And you can't delay the release of your drug because you only have a 10 or 15-year patent on that drug. So the quicker you get it out, the more you can sell and the better you can serve your own patients. So that's why clinical trials are super important and why there's so much money invested in every single one.
That's right. It's a high risk too, right? The pharma companies have taken a lot of risk, and this is like almost like the final step to get it past the FDA. You gotta successfully get the drug tested with a bunch of patients, prove that it works, and then the FDA approves you, and then you get to sell it. Otherwise, all the money goes down the drain. What was it? And there are these organizations that are specifically work on behalf of pharma companies to conduct these trials, CROs. It was a couple of them that got excited about the original demo to fly you all over, right? Was it a CRO? Or site operator or something?
Yes. So our initial customers are those who did this work directly. So they were investigators, doctors that are running clinics doing this research, either embedded within their healthcare practice or as a standalone, as well as CROs who are also doing this work for the pharmaceutical companies. And their entire goal is, hey, Tran and Sohit, they understand these processes and they can help us take care of a lot of these tedious tasks so that we're able to provide a faster and better service and clinical trial ops for our
Right.
customers.
What was it about the initial demo that you cold DM'd and cold emailed a bunch of people that got them so excited that they wanted to see it in person? Well, they wanted to meet you in person, because most cold outbound doesn't work, but there must have been something really cool about this.
Yeah, so the initial demo essentially showed them a virtual clinical research coordinator that was available 24/7 in every single language. Basically, like their dream staff to help their patients, right? So before, like Transit How was done, is someone would call in to our customers and they would have no idea, like those clinical research staff wouldn't be able to pick up because they'd be busy in the clinic, or they wouldn't speak the language that this participant wanted. If they spoke Spanish, they'd have to go find a Spanish-speaking staff. It was just generally there was a lot of attrition for our customers at this kind of initial step of trying to get patients into the clinic. So when they saw our demo, they said, okay, this person can pick up the phone anytime. They can speak Spanish instantly. They probably will never make mistakes because our agent knows the trial criteria just like immediately, right? So if you say something that qualifies you or disqualifies you for a trial, we don't need to go check the protocol. Like our agent will know within a second. So it's just everything combined all together was just a really appealing package for them that would, I mean, at the end of the day, it just drives top line revenue for them because the more customers they get in, the more patients they're able to get to these trials, the more money they make, and that was very appealing for them.
Right. So the initial sort of wedge was really sweet. The product wedge was pretty compelling. Customers could immediately determine that there is value here. Um, what was the sales process like? Did you know how much money to ask for? Did they offer you to pay? How did you convert that interest into actual adoption and eventual sort of early revenue?
The first two contracts that we had, we actually sat down with a customer in their HQ and drafted up the contract with them there. And what we learned was that if you can find the champion, and our champions were like the chief operating officer, they're the ones on the business side, has to make sure that all of this is running really well. And if you can demonstrate that this product will truly help them, then your customers will be on your side. And that's what we quickly learned, which is sitting there in the customer's HQ, we are always one team with our customer. It's not vendor versus customer. We are partners, and we are equal partners in this relationship, and we are bringing this technology and innovation in together. And so from there, once we had that mindset shift, then really we just sat down and we just asked them straight up, what's your budget? Like, what's the ROI? If we make this much for you, what makes sense? If we project this over the next 5 or 10 years, what would make this a sustainable business? And that was probably the biggest learning we had, which is, we just asked the questions. And if genuinely this is something that we want to do, and this is something that the business partners also see, they're willing to help make sure that this is a sustainable company that will grow so that it can also support their business over the years.
That's great. What you're describing is as a classic design partnership engagement, right? A lot of companies in Silicon Valley talk about their customers as design partners, but they're not truly design partners. They're just customers. Here, your customers are helping you from the beginning to the contract stage, and it's true partnership. That's how it started. How is it going now? How are you doing on the customer side? What is the state of the business today?
Yeah, so it's been going amazingly well. In the last year, we've run around 50 phase 2 and 3 trials. We've done over 1 million patient interactions. So we've been able to deploy at scale across a bunch of customers. And now we're moving into larger and larger enterprises where we want to deploy workflows, not just in Grace and patient recruitment. We really see a true platform play where we can kind of just accelerate life sciences operations across the board, from clinical trial recruitment, protocol generation, all the way down to patient safety and patient service on the commercial side. And we want to be that go-to automation partner for life sciences. So we're now working closely with some big pharma customers to do that.
Right. You said you said a lot there, but the two things that stand out for me is as work platform. You're trying to build a platform. The initial product of recruiting is one part of it, but there's much more. So I'd love for you to sort of talk a little bit more about that, and then also talk a little bit more about the types of customers. Like the first two customers we talked about were CROs, but now you're talking to big pharma too. I'm guessing that's much bigger budgets. So can you talk about how the vision of the product has changed and expanded? From where you started to where you're now?
Yeah, so when we started, it was really how can we deliver that value immediately? How can we create Grace, the digital staff, to get rid of and automate the tedious work that no one wanted to do, that was in the backlog? And we achieved that pretty soon, and we saw the ROI from that. And so the next stage was, what can we do with all of this intelligence that Grace was collecting? So for example, Anamitra, if you just bought a $5 billion asset and now you have to take it through phase 2 and 3 and successfully collect the data, you might be wondering, well, how do I then commercialize this product? What does the US population think about my drug or others out there on the market? Where are the concerns? Where are the challenges? And because Grace is out there actively talking to hundreds of thousands of your potential patients, we're also able to collect that data. And we're able to surface that and say, well, hey, Anamitra, did you know actually there's a lot of concerns about your drug because of the following past experiences? Or in these zip codes, the certain population demographics actually would love this or would like to see the following adjustments. And these are all aggregated insights that we are collecting to what we call our PRM, or our participant relationship management system, that will then allow teams cross-functionally to make sure that they can deliver the best marketable product that they can to patients. And that's where we're really moving towards, which is, hey, we have an intelligent system. It's now called the agent operator, that is safe, enterprise ready, and life science compliant. From that system, the agent operator, we can spin up different agents. Grace is an agent for clinical trial recruitment, but now we can also adapt and use that data to then go out and help you sell the drug, to then help you educate patients on the therapy or on these specific treatments. And so really what we want to do, the Moonshot idea, is that Grove AI will power the end-to-end from drug development all the way to commercial purposes and be able to deliver this experience to the end user.
That's a really expansive and ambitious opportunity, right? I think central to that is something you referenced, which is the PRM, participant relationship management. Sounds like a CRM for the industry. Is that the right way to think about it?
Yes, it's a CRM, but we changed the C to P because within pharma, I mean, we saw this with Viva as well as a spinoff from Salesforce. It's a big, complex industry, and you need a specific system that is built around the compliance and the needs of life sciences.
Right. I mean, that's right. You can't just take existing CRM and just wedge it into pharma because this is healthcare. You got to be HIPAA compliant. There's a lot of personal PII information that you can't really disclose, and you got to take extra safeguard because it's a regulated industry. Nothing quite like a system of record exists, right? This participant relationship management system doesn't quite exist. That's what you're building. You're building a system of record for this whole industry.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the vision where before people were writing down go to patient call and take notes on a sticky note and stick it on their desktop. So now we want to revolutionize the whole thing and make sure we have actionable data on every single thing that happens on the R&D side of pharma, and hopefully like transition that data into commercial purposes as well.
Right. As you went from that original wedge with this initial set of customers, you've expanded the product scope and you've expanded the customer, eligible customer. Did you know that from the beginning that you wanted to do PRM, or was it like step by step you learned more about the problems in the industry, you learned more about customers, you learned more, you got more and more truth at higher and higher levels to understand what the opportunity is? Is that how the step by step process happened, or was it like you wanted to build a PRM but you couldn't do it in the beginning, so you started with the AI recruiter?
We always knew it was a huge opportunity. And I think by working at Stanford Med, we really saw the whole system because, I mean, Stanford is really special in that it is a hospital system, but also a research system. Um, you know, and so we really saw the whole flywheel there, and we knew that it's disconnected, but there's ways for us to connect that together. Now, we didn't know how exactly that would connect together in the very beginning. And so we started step by step of, I mean, the vision and our thesis is always, hey, let's deliver good work. And from there on, we will expand and continue to deliver good work for those we work with. And that's exactly what happened. We delivered on the AI recruiter Grace. And then the investigators and doctors and others came to us for other workflows. And soon we were, I mean, just last week we were talking with a doctor and he was pleading us to do his patient services workflows. He was like, please, I know you guys are focused on this, but please, would you ever consider helping me with my patient services? Um, and so when we came to those moments where it's not us pitching anymore, it's people coming to us with new workflows and new ideas and new areas where they want us to support, that's when we know, okay, they trust us, and we will move, very carefully, take and understand what workflows that they are trying to do, and then come up with a great solution for that. And that's for us the role of a technologist.
That's right. Thinking about founders who are maybe a couple of years before you, who are also they're fast builders. They're looking to sort of replicate your journey. What advice would you give them?
Honestly, if you really want to start, I'd say just start because if you're a founder, I think the most important things that we've learned is you just got to really immerse yourself, throw yourself into the space. Tran and I, as soon as we started, went to conferences, spoke to everybody. When we went to our sites, we asked them for a step-by-step walkthrough of exactly their day-to-day. So we noted down every single workflow that our customers did. They went back to the drawing board and said, okay, what should we actually automate? I think you just got to be willing to be relentless and just learn. So that's what we did. And I think the company building aspect is hard, but I think with some good mentorship and people around you, you'll figure that out. I think it's just making sure you're in the right problem space and building the right product.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I'm also curious, like you two are fairly young and you're working in an industry that's drug discovery or clinical trials, lots of older people, and you go to meet them in person at conferences, which has worked really well for you. Did you get skepticism in the beginning? Do you get skepticism today? Is that an issue for you at all?
We view it as a strength. So, I mean, for us, I think when people ask us, I mean, very rarely do we get these questions anymore. I remember when we showed up to the first conference, people would say, "Oh, where are you guys from? I've never seen you guys before." Those type of questions. And I think the biggest thing is, hey, we will deliver good work. And you find in the beginning the one or two people who believe in you, and you deliver that good work. And very quickly, especially for regulated industries where it's very tops heavy, the word travels very fast. And then sales entirely becomes relationship building. And so I think for us, if we prove that we do good work, then no one will ever question how old are you or where do you come from.
Yeah. They begin to trust you. They
Right.
begin to trust the work, right? Which is once you win trust, then they share more and more about their issues, situations, workflows. They want more of your help. That's kind of key. That's the way to break through that, I guess, is just to do good work, like you said. Switching gears to fundraising a little bit, because you're a startup, you got to raise money. What has been your big learnings in fundraising? You guys have been very successful in fundraising so far, turning down a lot of demand. But what are the big lessons you've learned?
Yeah, I think with fundraising, honestly, building a company is like you can't focus on fundraising. I think our focus has always been providing value to our customers and building as sustainable of a company as possible. We've had really strong revenue growth and really strong customer growth the last few months. And then, as long as your head's down and building a really good company, the fundraising, the money will come. That's never been a concern or a priority for us. It's more, if we provide value, we know that investors will be interested.
And then you've had a lot of choice in your fundraising about who to work with and what not, what price and all that. What advice would you give to founders as they are trying to figure out who to work with? What attributes do you look for in your investor? What do you like? What do you not like? Any horror stories? Any anecdotes from the fundraising experience?
For us, genuinely, it's just who do we want to work with. It really is true. Like, this is a long journey, and you go to your investors when there are hard problems that you need to solve and hard questions. And so, for us, we ask those hard questions immediately. I think also for very specific niche regulated industries like ours, one of the lucky things we get is very fast to tell within like the first 5 minutes of a conversation if the person on the other side knows what they are talking about or has some interest in wanting to know what to talk about. That it's pretty quick for us to then decide, okay, then this person is someone we would invest time in and be willing to work with.
Right. And in company building is hard. Building a right product is hard. Getting customers is hard. Fundraising is not straightforward. You get a lot of no's and rejection, whether it's you're trying to recruit candidates to work, or customers, or fundraising. There has to be downtimes. There has to be sort of times when you are not effervescent. How do you handle the lows? Between
We go
the
for
two of
bike
you.
rides. We just take a step back and really, like, what is it that we are trying to achieve here? What is it that we're doing right now to make that happen? And what else can we do? I think a lot of times, because So and I, we're also building the product, deploying the product, and doing everything in the weeds. It can get very easy to go in the weeds and then, oh, this has to be perfect, that has to be perfect. But then for us, it's the practice of then zooming out and thinking about, okay, does this truly achieve the original goal that we set out to do, which was to improve X, Y, and Z? And that has really helped us in order to work through the many lows and highs of building a company.
Right. One of the mental tricks that has worked for us in starting our fund, and we go through the same journey, is to go back to the folks who believed in us and just hear it again. Why did they believe in us? And that kind of reaffirms. I'm curious, when you talk to customers who have been very profoundly helpful to you today, as you're thinking about the next 5 years of growth, what do you hear? What gives you continued conviction, no matter what the market says, no matter what the competition is doing? What do you hear from your customers about the future that gives you a lot of hope and promise for growth?
Yeah, I think a couple months ago we went to New Jersey to visit some of our customers, and Tran and I walked in the room, and it was just a crazy sight. We saw people like on our Grow PRM clicking around, using our product in real life, which I think when you're a founder, like, wow, that's like one of the coolest things you can see. And then we went up and talked to them. We asked them for feedback. They wanted some things improved, I think, but by and large, at the end, they were like, okay, can you guys please make sure you keep doing this? It's like made my job and my life so much better. And like our clinic is running a lot better because of growth. So I think it's moments like that where like, okay, we're making a real change and we want to keep doing that for the years to come. And we're just going to keep doing more and more.
That's amazing. I have no doubt Grove is going to be a massive company. Everyone take notice. So Trans, thank you so much for taking the time to share the wisdom. I'm sure you'll get many more questions coming out of this, but I really appreciate your time and all the hard work you're putting in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Anamitra.